In terms of the fourth quarter, they had all but one of their buckets was inside the paint. Was that them just being able to get into the paint and get whatever they want because of that point of attack defense like you were talking about?
Yeah, they had that and 9 free throws.
They just crushed Page Brewers and the Dallas Wings. They dominated the Minnesota Lynx for their first Commissioner's Cup championship. They absolutely destroyed Ja Wilson and the Las Vegas Aces. 3 straight wins. The momentum was building. Everyone expected them to handle the Los Angeles Sparks easily, even without Caitlin Clark. The Sparks are literally one of the worst teams in the WNBA. But what happened next will make your blood boil. The refs made calls so bad that Stephanie White could only say 5 words that revealed everything wrong with this league. Let us know down in the comments below what you think of the WNBA referees.
We should have won this game. There was inconsistencies in the officiating. Wait until you see the second half. And I have everything.
The Fever walked into this game missing their biggest star, but nobody expected what happened next. Caitlin Clark was sidelined with a left groin injury. This marked her 5th straight game on the bench. The team's entire offensive flow depends on Clark's playmaking ability. Without her court vision and scoring threat, the Fever became a completely different team.
Finding out this morning that we probably need to hold out again today. It really is a day-to-day thing, and I think for us, making sure that we're prioritizing her long-term health and wellness. It's anybody who's had some of these types of injuries understand that sometimes it's a process. She's a quick healer, and she's been doing everything that she can to get back on the floor. So we just want to make sure that we're hypersensitive to the big picture.
But that's not all. Dearest Dantas was representing her country in the FIA America. Her absence meant the Fever had to scramble their rotations. The team lost another key contributor who brings size and experience off the bench. Then came the shocking news that Dana Bonner had quit the team entirely. 3 major pieces gone in one devastating blow. Here's where it gets interesting. Despite being this wounded, the Fever were still heavy favorites. ESPN's matchup predictor gave them a 72.9% chance of victory. MGM had them favored by 6.5 points. Everyone expected the remaining talent to carry them through this game easily. The logic seemed simple. The Sparks are literally one of the worst teams in the WNBA. They've struggled all season long. The Fever had just completed that incredible 3-game winning streak. Aaliyah Boston was playing phenomenal basketball. Kelsey Mitchell was stepping up as a leader. The team chemistry looked solid during their dominant performances.
Howard looking backdoor for Mitchell. Not there. Shot clock down to 7. McDonald feed inside, and it's Howard for 2.
It's good rec, but something was brewing beneath the surface. The Fever's playing pace had slowed dramatically without Clark. They weren't moving the ball with the same energy. Boston wasn't getting enough touches to dominate in the paint like she can. The offensive system that worked so perfectly with Clark running the show started breaking down. The Fever still had multiple all-star caliber players. The Sparks were fighting just to stay competitive most nights. How could Indiana possibly lose this game?
I don't get it. Breanna Stewart, Aja Wilson, wait until you see what they did for Kelsey Plum tonight. They get all the calls. Touch fouls, anything. And guess what happens? Aaliyah Boston, the best center in the game, and guess what happens to her? She gets called for every touch foul and ends up in foul trouble this entire season and is still putting up MVP type numbers. What happens with Caitlin Clark? Have you ever seen her get a touch foul? A phantom call? No. The physicality, that's the WNBA when it comes to Caitlin Clark. But anybody else, the physicality disappears. And it's foul after foul.
The expectations were sky high. Everyone thought raw talent would overcome the missing pieces. The Fever had proven they could win big games. They had championship-level players still on the court. The Sparks were supposed to be easy prey for a team with Indiana's remaining firepower. This perfect storm of missing pieces created the exact conditions for disaster. The team chemistry that looked so strong during their winning streak was built around Clark's leadership. Without her organizing the offense, cracks started showing. The role players who thrived in their defined spots suddenly had to do more. The pressure mounted as the game began with all these handicaps weighing them down.
What does it take to get a team to be more consistent, especially from you on the coaching side of things?
Yeah, I mean, I think a couple things. There's always got to be a high attention to knowing personnel. Oftentimes you don't get a lot of practice time, and so going over a lot of their sets, what you do. But at the end of the day, making sure we know our personnel, who we're going to run off the three-point line, what we're willing to give up. We've got to make sure that there's a high attention to detail there.
Even as the team struggled, 3 players refused to let the Fever go down without a fight. Aaliyah Boston absolutely dominated the paint all night long. She finished with 23 points and 12 rebounds in what should have been a winning performance. Boston shot 9 of 17 from the field and knocked down 5 of 7 free throws. She finally got the ball when it mattered most and showed everyone why she's such a special player.
Here's Mitchell off the screen, but can't connect on the 3. Boston offensive rebound rolls it in and a foul. The 2 bigs bring the ball up the floor, and Hamby wasn't ready for that.
How about that change of pace and burst like a guard, gets downhill to the rim.
Kelsey Mitchell stepped up huge in Clark's absence. She dropped 19 points and nailed 3 three-pointers when the team needed scoring desperately. Mitchell reached a massive milestone too, playing her 251st game for the Fever. Only Tama Catchings has played more games in franchise history. Mitchell's leadership showed throughout the entire game as she kept the Fever competitive against a team they should have beaten easily. Bob inside Boston, too far underneath. Shot clock down to 5, kick out Mitchell. Oh yes, but that's not all. Natasha Howard brought her veteran presence and absolutely lit up the scoreboard. She finished with 21 points and 9 rebounds in a near double-double performance. Howard shot an incredible 8 of 11 from the field, including 1 of 2 from three-point range. She knocked down 4 of 6 free throws and provided crucial scoring on both ends of the court.
Busted them all up. We went to the same high school.
Howard left alone, answers with a 3.
These 3 players carried the entire team on their backs. They were putting up championship-level numbers against a team that was supposed to fold under pressure. Boston controlled the paint like the all-star she is. Mitchell hit clutch shots that kept the Fever in striking distance. Howard used her experience to make plays that younger players simply can't make. Picture this. Boston was dominating inside. Mitchell was hitting shots from everywhere. Howard was making veteran plays that kept hope alive. Comeback was right there for the taking. The crowd could feel it building. The momentum was shifting toward Indiana. LA is so dangerous. They don't look like a 5-win team to me. Oh, and there's Tipson sending it back. Here's where it gets interesting. Their individual brilliance was being overshadowed by absolutely horrible officiating. The refs made call after call that went against the Fever. Sophie Cunningham got grabbed by the neck and no foul was called. Instead, the refs awarded a jump ball.
This is what I was talking about with Sophie Cunningham. Look at this. She literally grabbed her around her neck, and they called this a jump ball, and then threw her down the next play.
The controversial calls piled up throughout the final minutes when the game was on the line. You could see the frustration building on the court. These players were giving everything they had. Boston was playing at an elite level. Mitchell was hitting shots that should have won the game. Howard was making plays that showed her championship experience. But the refs kept making calls that took away their chances.
And then Aaliyah Boston, like I said, she didn't touch her. They put her in foul trouble all season long. They're just calling stuff to call stuff. The refs made this game about them. Aaliyah Boston, again, she's an all-star player. Look at these hits. Good thing Caitlin Clark didn't play because it was just a sloppy basketball game between the officials and the Los Angeles Sparks. Look at this. They called this a foul instead of a block. And then there's Aaliyah Boston again. That's 3 fouls where she didn't touch anybody. And that's our best player and wonder why we lose this game. Michaela Timpson, watch these 2 calls in a row. She didn't do anything. She got hit on that one, and they called a foul on her.
Even their heroic efforts couldn't overcome the controversial calls that decided the game. The heartbreak was visible on every player's face as they watched a winnable game slip away because of factors completely outside their control.
And this is 4th quarter. Look at this. This one pissed me off. Kelsey Plum seriously elbows Lexi Hall, then purposely steps over so she couldn't get up. Lexi Hall can't believe it. That's a foul. The ref was right there in front of her. And then here we go. And they kept McDonald in foul trouble the entire game. There's 2 in a row where she didn't do anything. Look at that. Just had her arms in the air, but they gave, this is the 4th quarter. And they just kept giving every single call. I like Leah Boston finally getting pissed off. Then they call this away from the ball in the 4th quarter. Nothing going on. Just to put him at the line, and then Kelsey Plum, another one. But when Howard drives and gets slashed across the face, no foul, just out of bounds.
After watching her team fight so hard only to lose in heartbreaking fashion, Stephanie White finally spoke. The post-game press conference was tense. You could see the frustration written all over White's face. She had just watched her players give everything they had. Boston dominated inside. Mitchell hit clutch shots. Howard made veteran plays, but it still wasn't enough. The reporters waited for her response. White is known for being composed and professional. She always chooses her words carefully, but this time was different. This loss hit harder than most. The Fever had just lost to one of the worst teams in the WNBA. They were supposed to win this game easily.
In terms of the 4th quarter, they had all but one of their buckets was inside the paint. Was that them just being able to get into the paint and get whatever they want because of that point of attack defense like you're talking about?
Yeah, they had that and 9 free throws.
White delivered her response in just 5 powerful words. We didn't get the calls. That was it. 5 words that said absolutely everything about what happened in those final minutes. The frustration was clear. The disappointment was obvious. White had watched her team get robbed of a victory they deserved. Let's talk about the specific calls that changed everything. Sophie Cunningham got grabbed by the neck. The refs called a jump ball instead of a foul. That's not basketball. That's favoritism toward the Sparks. Leah Boston kept getting called for touch fouls while the Sparks got away with much more physical play. The double standard was obvious to everyone watching.
And look, there are going to be days where you make shots and miss shots. I mean, that's part of it. I thought, AB had a really good look at the end. And so sometimes it just doesn't fall your way. So we're looking more about execution. I didn't feel like our execution was all that good at the end. I felt like in our reset timeout, it wasn't very good either. And, that's on us, continuing to make sure that we are going over that, as often as possible when we have our practice time and making sure that we're sharp in those areas.
White's statement represented every Fever fan's anger and disappointment. She spoke for everyone who watched that game. Fans were screaming at their televisions. They saw the same horrible calls that decided the outcome. White's 5 words gave voice to their frustration. She said what everyone was thinking. This moment connects to the bigger picture of the Fever fighting against unfair odds. They're missing their best player. They're dealing with injuries and roster changes. Now they have to overcome bad officiating too. The challenges keep piling up for this team. Here's the amazing part. This loss actually proves the Fever's incredible talent and potential. They almost beat the Sparks despite everything working against them. Boston played at an all-star level. Mitchell stepped up as a leader. Howard brought veteran presence. The pieces are there for something special. This heartbreaking defeat becomes fuel for future success when Clark returns and the team gets healthy. White's 5 words reminded everyone that this group refuses to accept unfair treatment.
Here is Boston on a handoff to Cunningham. Head full of steam to the rim and a foul. Cunningham and 1.
I mean, this is just a really good screen by Boston to give her a step. The switch. Sophie's having a good time.
Think about what just happened here. The Fever were missing 3 key players and still nearly beat a team they should have destroyed. That's not weakness. That's pure strength showing through adversity. Here's where it gets interesting. Missing Clark, Dantas, and Bonner should have been a death sentence against any WNBA team, but the Fever stayed competitive for 40 minutes. Clark's return is right around the corner. She's been participating in drills and sitting on the bench during games. Coach White is prioritizing her long-term health, but Clark could return as early as Wednesday against the Golden State Valkyries. Picture this lineup when she's back. Clark running the offense, Boston dominating the paint, Mitchell providing clutch scoring, Hall bringing energy and defense, Howard adding veteran presence. That's a championship roster right there.
Cunningham, Coulson, give and go, and Coulson hits a three.
That's called a boomerang pass.
But that's not all. This young core has been battle-tested through the hardest possible circumstances. Boston has proven she can carry a team when needed. Mitchell has shown she can be a leader without Clark on the court. She's averaging 21.6 points over the 5 games Clark missed. These players aren't just surviving without their star. They're growing into championship-caliber contributors. Let's talk about what 2025 looks like for this team. They're building chemistry and experience right now that will pay massive dividends next season. Every tough loss teaches them something new. Every close game builds their confidence. Every milestone reached shows their individual growth. Mitchell hitting 600 three-pointers. Howard reaching 2,000 rebounds. Boston establishing herself as a consistent all-star level player. Percent comes up with the block. Coulson launch ahead. Oh, I'm a Caitlin Clark. The schedule ahead gives them chances to prove their strength. Games against Golden State, Atlanta, Dallas, Connecticut, and New York. These are the tests that forge championship teams. When Clark returns, this battle-tested group will be ready to dominate. Here's the amazing part. Teams that beat the Fever while they were down better watch out. The Sparks got them twice this season. Other teams took advantage of their injuries and roster changes. But when this team gets healthy, they're going to remember every single slight, every bad call, every tough loss, every team that kicked them while they were down. This pain is building championship character. The frustration is creating hunger. The adversity is forging mental toughness that will carry them through playoff battles when everything is on the line. This heartbreaking loss actually proves the Fever's championship potential. When fully healthy, stay loyal to this team. Clark's return is coming soon. The Fever are projected to be a playoff contender with potential to still secure a top 4 seed. This young core has been battle-tested through adversity. Picture this revenge tour when everyone gets healthy. The Sparks beat them twice this season. Other teams took advantage of their injuries. But when Clark returns, this team will remember every slight, every bad call, every team that kicked them while they were down. Let us know down in the comments below what you think of the WNBA referees. Like, subscribe, and turn on all notifications so you never miss out. Click the video on the screen, and we will see you in the next